Welcome to another episode of Relatively Damaged Live. My name is Angela, and this is
Kat.
the live shows are currently streamed on Mondays to Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitter. Remember to follow and subscribe and share with your friends. On the Monday segment of the show, Kat and I talk about topics we find interesting for about 30 minutes. So let's get to today's topic. Where does love fit in war? And Kat has a quote for us.
I have several quotes, but I'm going to start with this one. This is from Jimi Hendrix. When the power of love overwhelms the love of power, the world will know peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that is so true. And Becky says hello, so hi Becky.
Hi, Becky.
I think that there is something that happens when we're in war with others and with ourselves. I really think we can see it when we're in war with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, have you ever felt more connected to someone than when you're angry with them?
Honestly, I never thought about that, but yeah.
like all of a sudden there's more frustrate. Man, when I'm mad at somebody, they are on my mind, and I am so connected to them. And when I'm like in love or loving someone, I also feel super connected to someone. And I remember someone asking the question. Her name was Claudia. What's the opposite of like hate, which would create war, right? And people would answer love, and she's like, no, I don't think so. I think it's indifference. And I've pondered that for so very long. Like, if someone has hurt me that much or injured me that much, how will I ever do I want to be connected to them? I'm sorry, it's just cracking me up because there are people in my life I've been like, whoa, yeah, that mirror is so hard to look at.
I would agree with you on that. Um, you know, the, the ones who you love the most are the ones who can hurt you the most.
Mm-hmm. Why is that though? I mean, whew.
Because we don't, I think that you said it right there, your friend Claudia, there's not indifference there.
So if I'm not going to be indifferent, then can I hear what they're telling me? Maybe like if someone's telling me a truth I'm not ready to hear, that trigger is extremely painful. And how dare they? How dare they tell me where I'm not living up to. I think sometimes it's even my own expectations, right? Like,
Okay, explain.
so if someone injures me, like if they tell me something that stings or really feels like a knife and it triggers those emotions in me, then I wonder, you know, is it simply because I'm unwilling? I'm unwilling and don't want to see that part of myself because they're calling it to the surface. And now I've got to take a look. I mean, if I'm triggered, maybe there's some truth to what's going on here.
I would agree with you on that because it's hitting something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the hardest, and I wish I had this quote with me. You and I talked about it the other day, and I misunderstood the source, but or forgot which source it was. But anyway, um, it was about love being violent. And it was in the sense of this violence of change that takes place. Change is often a violent kind of thing, not violence in terms of like blood and gore and things like that, but the emotions that it evokes. And so if somebody's telling you something that just hurts you to the core, is it something that's unexamined? And it's like, and then having to love that part of yourself is really that leap where you get to that point where you can, okay, and love that part of yourself and love whatever that person is saying to you, like the self-examination part of it.
Okay. And I'm going to say hello to Ezra real quick from Twitch. Thanks. Hi, Ezra. We're good. Ezra. Thanks for joining us today. I think it is really hard to, especially if I'm not liking that part of myself that they're calling into the light out of the shadows, right? Because if someone else doesn't call it to the surface, then I don't have to, then I can live as if you know what I'm saying? Like, I can live as if it does, that part of me that I don't like doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something you can put in a closet and close the door and not worry about it.
Yeah. But, you know, the interesting thing is when that person says it, if I start contracting, right? If I get angry, then I feel like I'm pulling away that love, first of all, right? And then there's this contraction. So I can't hear them. If I shoot back from that angry place or that injured place, then I think the dogs are saying hello today.
Yes, they are.
One of these days we'll have to put a picture up, show everybody what the dogs look like. But like when that happens, if I can love who they are and see the value in what they're telling me, then I think maybe something beautiful can happen.
Well, exactly. I know that within myself, when someone helps me to shed light on those parts of myself, and I'm choosing to, instead of slamming the door on them again, and reacting angrily, but I look at that and I look at that with love and say, what is this? What is this? And is this something that's true?
Right.
And it's not always true, because don't forget, somebody could be going with their own thing and they're making assumptions.
Right. And I think so we need to look at what's happening inside of us.
Right. And I think that in the case of war, be it, you know, between two people or be it between all the way to two countries, you know, it's what is really being looked at. What are the assumptions that we're going in here with? What is the understanding that we're going with?
Right. So someone could do something that injures me, right? And I could respond out of that anger and frustration or that fear and forget about love because I'm just assuming what is happening inside of them. And I'm also not willing to take a look inside of me.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, you know, having been through divorce for myself, I would say that it is really easy to, let me just respond to Ezra says they're surprised that not more people are watching. Thank you, Ezra. That's a fantastic compliment. I'm sure we both appreciate. I'm going to speak for Kat.
Agreed.
I think that it was really easy to feel like I needed to be at war because I felt like I needed to prove where I stood. And I had felt attacked on so many levels, and then it didn't matter what what they said. It didn't matter what they said because I just felt attacked. So, I felt like this need to like declare blah, 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 like I know what I'm talking, and then what does it look like? But I'm engaging, and now it's high conflict, right? Because everything that was said would totally get to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took, unfortunately, many years. And there's an article on Facebook on the Damaged Parents page called "Divorcing Russia," but it took many years for me to figure out, how do I come from love? Could what they were doing, could they not do it? I certainly couldn't control it. I couldn't make it better. And maybe perhaps they were responding from their own pain and suffering.
Well, I think that's it. Exactly. Is each of us comes from our own perspective. And when that perspective is that kind of, I'm protecting what's mine or what I perceive to be mine, be it my right, be it my property, be it what I think should happen, my ideas. When we come from that place, um, notice I said the word I, mine, 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 mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about me. So I want this. I went through it since it wasn't a legal marriage, but I went through a divorce of sorts after a 15-year relationship, and there was a lot of that. And I, this I deserve this, this is mine kind of thing. And I think when I was able to get to the place of what is really mine, kind of thing, and to the place of loving myself, do I want to stay in that place of strife, of hatred, of war? Or do I
Yeah.
want to heal? Do I want to move on? Do I want to be able to repair the damage that has been done and move on?
Do you mean the damage to yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the damage to myself.
And
Um,
would that take, I'm sorry, I'm
no,
totally interrupting. I love
that's
to
okay.
interrupt. You know me. did that did that take the other person for you to heal? Did that take what did they need to do anything for you to heal?
No. Um,
Could they
they
have done anything for you to heal? I think maybe that's even a better question.
quicker, perhaps. Perhaps they could have ended that strife sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody has to take that step to make a peace offering.
Mm.
And I had to do that. And I didn't do it. I did not do that for the relationship. I did not do that for the other person. I did that for myself
Yeah.
because I needed the peace. Now, that being said, there were certain boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I will give up to this point. Um, and there were certain things that I was not going to compromise on.
Mm-hmm.
But I had given enough.
Yeah.
That it was relatively, after the initial period of strife, relatively amicable.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So did you, and I'm even thinking of my own situation because I there were those continuous attacks, or what felt like continuous attacks, and I try to, so from that experience I do try to compare that to, maybe like I feel how I imagine probably the Ukraine feels, or I felt,
Mhm.
so it brings up a lot of that, they're attacking, and yet they say they want to negotiate, but there's really no negotiation if someone continues to attack. So I'm trying to figure out, how did you was it you that you saw as on one side or the other side that needed to make that choice, or was it someone else?
I know a little bit of your situation, so I'm going to compare my situation to I was the Ukraine in 2014
Okay.
when when Russia invaded the Crimea and took over the Crimea.
Okay.
It was easy for them. I'm not going to say it was easy for them. It was easier for them to say, okay, we're going to let this go for the sake of peace
Okay.
and let this go. That's what they were going to give.
To
And
Russia, who was
to
complaining, right?
right.
Okay.
Um, and yours may have been more like the Ukraine Russia situation now, with the
Right.
constant attack, the constant bombarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, it depends on the other side.
Right.
Um, and it takes two people to make love. It takes two people to make war. Or two
Yeah.
countries to make war. So it's all all these quotes and are nice and wonderful and everything, and they make sense, and there's a truth in there, a pretty
Mm-hmm.
profound truth. But if people are clung to their love of power,
Mm.
power over another person, power over a situation, uh, and they're going from that point of view, um, and they can put it in their mind, whatever, again, have all these things that are really dark in the closet, the real feelings, the real insecurities, the real fears, and it explodes like that. That
Mm.
it's I have to take care of mine, and then you have people too who honestly enjoy living with the power, people who are
Right.
power hungry, um, be it from world leaders to abusive spouses or bosses or anything like that, who just
Mm-hmm.
want that power. And I can't claim to know what motivates other people,
Right.
um and how other people's relationships play out. All I know really is mine
Mm.
and my motives. And so it's very hard to play nice in the sandbox to love when the other person or country has playing by a different set of rules.
Yeah. No, it is. It is extremely hard. Um, I remember a point later in time where I I needed to put together a declaration, and I sent it over to a friend of mine, and she said, she read it and she said, okay, well, how is this coming from love? And had to redo it, send it over. Okay, that's a little better. Are you sure this is coming from love? Okay, again, and at some point, what I had to figure out is, in this in that the dynamic that I was in, what is love, and what does it mean? What does it really mean to love? For instance, with the kids, does it mean not saying no, or maybe it does mean saying no?
Mm.
And taking every single um incident as its own, because maybe it's not that easy to say, oh, this is love and that isn't, right? Like, there's so many parenting books out there, oh, this is if you have to have rules, that shows your children love. Well, yes, and sometimes we need to step outside those guidelines, because that also shows love in certain situations.
Mhm.
And so I think the same is true, like in war. I don't know if the whole world right now, and this is kind of where my thought process is going. If the whole world right now is in the midst of hating Putin and loving Zelensky, for instance, let's just say that.
Okay.
Um, how is that sending more love? Right? It's saying one is right and the other is wrong. But at the same time, I don't think I love what I think it's Byron Katie says. People don't injure other people unless they're confused. So if my premise is that there's something inside of Putin that is injured and hurt, that needs this power, then maybe, what happens if instead we say, you know what, or somehow send love that way? Does that make sense?
It does, because I think that goes back to what I had said earlier about I don't know what's going on inside of other people.
Yeah.
All I know is myself. And so I can act in my own best interest, but also come from love. Love myself, but also love that other person.
It kind of goes to that saying, they know not what they do.
Yes. Yes. And I this just here's another thing. Last night, I don't know if you watched the Oscars or heard the brouhaha that happened last night.
Are you talking about Chris Rock and Will
Yes,
Smith?
yes, I am.
Okay, my daughter was like, Mom, did you know? And I was like, I heard, but I didn't investigate.
Well, I was up early this morning, watching, because I had missed it live. And so here was this thing. So Chris Rock is a comedian. Okay, he told a joke in very bad taste. I personally don't think that somebody should be joking about somebody's medical condition.
Oh yeah, that's I mean, that person, like, I can joke that I'm like a T-Rex,
Yes,
but
but I can't.
unless I've given you permission to do so,
Exactly.
then it's not, or you've earned that right. Like, which
Right.
requires permission somewhere.
Exactly. So so that was in poor taste. And it seemed like Will at first thought it was funny, and then I think he saw the look on Jada's face, and he could tell that she was not happy, and he went to defend her. Now, was that the right thing to do? I don't think it was, but I could understand where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I could understand making that mistake out of that anger, going to war to protect something that he loved.
Right.
Whether it was the right response, I think most people, agree that he went too far with it. But I can understand that feeling, wanting to defend.
Yeah. Okay, so just real quick, because we're on the topic. What would have been another potential way, or a way to respond from the perspective? I mean, he was responding from love, probably, like, right, for Jada.
Mm-hmm.
But between him and Chris Rock now, how could he have come from that place of love or done it differently?
Well, see, here's the thing. So what happens when emotions get high?
Mm-hmm.
We react emotionally. Just going back to the first example, somebody does something to us that we perceive as that, and our normal lizard instinct, fight or flight.
Yeah. Or freeze or fawn, right?
Yeah. So, so he's in that moment, and he did that. You and I have talked about this. It's breathe. Take that pause.
Mm.
and then make a plan to decide what to do. Um, I mean, there's a number of ways he could have gotten up there and he could have, said something about it. He was pretty certain, and it was that he was going to win the Oscar. That's why he
Mm.
didn't walk out, you know.
Mm.
Um, so he could have
As far as
said,
we know, right? Because again, we don't really know.
right. Well, it was, yes. We don't really know. We're all thinking about what's going on. But, he could have had he could have had a platform to make a statement on making fun of people's illnesses or medical conditions is not cool. And he
Right.
could have done something and stood up for people who have alopecia.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it could have
in a,
shifted, completely shifted.
yeah, and
But
and
wow.
made it, instead of him looking stupid. I mean, Chris Rock made himself look stupid by
Right.
by making a joke in bad taste.
Yeah.
But Will made himself look really stupid by letting his anger get the best of him. And given the platform that he has, I mean, to become a, a an advocate, and they've already been out there, and Jade has been very vocal
Public.
about it
Mm-hmm.
and very public, but to even take it to a wider audience.
Yeah, I mean that opens up it could have opened up that door for people with disabilities. Really, really, I think a lot of times, being that I have disabilities, I've been in this group, considered part of this group for some time, that it is really easy to be angry about it, and to not come from love and acceptance of other people. I've really had to ponder again that it was that people don't know what they do. And I had what was it, I was working on a list of things that I've learned from having a disability, like coming from that place of love. And there was one of them, um, you know I want to say it was something to the effect of, um, like, if I don't know, like, we all, like, I can forgive others. Here it is. I found it. I can forgive others because I now see none of us know what we are doing. Like, none of us.
Isn't that the truth? And see, here's the thing. So out of war, so a situation where that could be considered a war between two people, you know, it doesn't have to be a hot war. It can be, in a sense, a loving war.
Yeah.
You know, here in this war, and I think we talked about it last week, when the Russian soldier was just kind of gave up, and the Ukrainians gave him a phone so that he could call his mom and his mom know that he was okay and alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's love out of war. All the images of the strollers at the border.
Yeah.
That's love that comes out of war. And so we're seeing that, and we see the devastation of the war, and we see the violence of a slap on the Oscars, and we say, oh, yet there can be a love that comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the images that I think we need to focus on in order to get out of that war, that
Yeah.
state of war, and that state of, you hurt me, I hurt you, let's fight it out.
Right.
But
Right.
to really state what's going on here, and
Mm-hmm.
to you know look at what we're really doing, look at our real motives, be
Yeah.
willing to love ourselves enough to admit the
Yeah.
fear.
That, and I don't think courage would exist without fear. It takes courage to love. It takes courage to look inside of myself. It takes courage to say, well, that didn't work out, and I apologize. Let's work this out.
Yes, it takes a courage to be humble.
It does, man. It really does. Let's end on that. It takes courage to be humble. We're a little bit over time today, everybody. There's also a Relatively Damaged podcast where I actually interview amazing guests who've overcome some sort of struggle in their lives and how they found hope and healing. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple, and many more. I'm Angela, and this is
Kat.
and
See you
we'll
next
see
time.
you next week. See you later.